Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Any update on Lausanne? Will he be cleared? Do you know?
He's going to go out today, so we'll make that decision tomorrow. So right now, I don't have an answer for that, but I have a much better one for you tomorrow.
And anything new on Miller?
No, he's here. He's on the bike. Not going to go on the ice today, I don't believe. So again, that's keeps him out of the lineup in the short term here, but at least he's progressing.
Okay. And you're going to have a full house tomorrow night for first time in 15 months. Just what is the anticipation and excitement over that?
Well, that's it a little bit. There is some anticipation because it's been a long time, so you kind of forget what it's like. I thought it was getting loud here with 25% capacity against the cap, so I can only imagine the full house. So it'll be nice to have everyone back in there. And it'd be good for all sports, I think, to get back to your typical home ice advantage in terms of the crowd being behind you, creating energy. So all that is going to be great. Like I said, it's been a long time and probably be a little bit shocking at first, to be honest with you. We're just so used to quietness, throughout the game. So it'd be a good thing for everybody in any building, and I think for both teams. I think crowds obviously are there for the home team, but I think they can also get the visiting team into it too. So I think it's just good for the game, period.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dan Roach.
Morning, Bruce. How you doing?
Good, Dan.
Good. Just a thought on, you faced the Islanders obviously a lot in the regular season, but what did you see of them in particular against Pittsburgh in that series to get ready for them?
Well, they end up scoring key goals. Obviously, they're opportunistic when they get chances, and some of them are very good because they're patient, get teams frustrated, and now they start gambling. So they're good at that. They're a heavy forecheck team. They're going to get their hits on the forecheck, so we've got to be prepared for that. Our D, anything Tuukka can handle back there to make it easier on the D will be helpful. So we know they're coming. We saw a lot of that in their building early on. Maybe not quite as much at home here because we had the puck more. So that's one of our game plans is to make sure we're clean, execute well, so we don't have to deal with that. Because I think that's how they gain momentum, is by playing behind you and wearing you down. And they got good goaltending as well, but that's to be expected. I think if you're going to advance, it's very difficult to do if your goaltender is not one of your best players. I think that's what happened with us clearly in the Washington series, happened for them against Pittsburgh. So that's the other part of their game that's rock solid right now. Individually, I think it goes from series to series sometimes for players. Obviously, the Nelson line had a little more success. Beauvillier was flying around, so he has his legs under him, obviously. Barzal's line, not as much. So, but that can change in a hurry, right? When you have depth. I thought Pajot had a good series, but he always does. He's a good player and always plays well against him. He's actually one of their most effective players against us because they use him in a lot of different situations. So that's one we'll have to keep an eye on as well.
And just if I could follow up, the reason for the optional practice today, is that go in line with you guys having the AM skate tomorrow, kind of that routine you got into?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed it with players. There's going to be, next opportunity obviously be a day off, a day between. We're assuming Monday, so Sunday it's an 8 o'clock start. Are we going to go back on the ice? Who knows? But we just looked at our week this week. Because again, a bunch of guys had their second vaccine. We felt that 2 days early in the week would be good. 2 days on, we'll skate tomorrow. If tomorrow's game had been earlier, we might have went on today really quick, did like a similar to a morning skate, Dan, and then just not go on in the morning because it's 8 o'clock. We decided to give them the option to stay off if they want. I think most guys are going to take it.
Pluto.
Bruce, in previous years, you had your top line mostly playing with Torrey and Brandon. This year with Matt and Charlie, how do you think that perhaps has even optimized them defensively and offensively?
Well, offensively, I mean, Torrey's as good as it gets. And Grizz has some similar qualities in terms of transition to Torrey. But Charlie, is ahead of Carlo, obviously, in the puck movement, and especially that first initial pass and the breakout. He can scrape a lot of guys off his back and get going up ice. So I think offensively transition, it'll be a little bit more productive because of the both guys. And I think that's beneficial to them. Defensively, probably, similar. I think Brandon's an excellent defensive player, so he's going to help whoever he's with. We know that Charlie is. Charlie's more physical, whereas I think Brandon does it more with just his body position, stick, positional play. So defensively, I think they're always going to be solid. Also because they have Bergie in the middle, doesn't matter what pair's back there. So at the end of the day, I think for them, if you were to ask them, Fluto, they'd say that both pairs are a good group to work with. I think the first year they were with Z and Carlo a lot more. That's a little more defensive minded for Bergie's group. So we made that adjustment as we went along here over the years to put more offensive minded guys with Bergie, get him away from always having the defensive matchup. I think that's where our fourth line came into play very well for us. So that's been a kind of the growth for that line over the years, is they're getting probably pucks in better spots on breakouts and neutral zone transition, because they're with some like-minded guys in terms of offense in that group of five.
Matt Porter. Hey, Bruce. Philosophically, kind of when you're deciding as a coach kind of how you want to play in your own zone, what about a goaltender like Tuukka, where he's just kind of calm, composed, isn't kind of all over the place? How does that help you decide kind of how you want to structure things, how you want to break pucks out?
It's not going to change the breakout. A goalie will come out and be, either overactive or passive, or they're somewhere in between. Obviously, I think Tuukka's in between. I think he's gotten more confidence in it the last few years to play it. I think we're communicating better with him. It's on and off his stick in a hurry. That's usually leads to success. You might miss a play or two here or there, but usually not getting yourself in trouble as a goaltender if you just, move it fairly quickly. As for our D-zone coverage, I mean, we've tweaked it over the years, but it's been in place here, layers, for a number of years. We've tried to build some aggressiveness into those layers that maybe weren't here in the past. So we're not spending quite as much time in our zone. That's been the adjustment we've made. And honestly, I think knowing that Tuukka, the way his style of play, I think that kind of zone or layers or whatever you want to call it is better than chasing guys around and then giving up maybe one high-end chance as opposed to maybe two, one grade A as opposed to two Bs, because we know that, Tuukka is going to be positionally sound for those Bs, and we should have the bodies there to clear it. So I think it has gone hand in hand, his style of play. Yet the Bruins played the same style with Timmy Thomas, and that's who was a lot more active. So I think listen, the goalies are good or they're not. They stop pucks or they don't. I think our system is goaltender friendly in terms of how we keep players accountable, but also the way it's set up. So it's benefited him, but it also benefited Timmy, who was, like I said, a little more acrobatic in there. So it's more about the goaltender having the qualities to stay in the league and excel in the league, and then the system just goes hand in hand with that.
Jimmy Murphy. Unmute Jimmy. All right, we'll go to Kevin Dupont.
Butch, too, if I could. You and Barry Trotz are basically the same age group, but he was out west. You were in the east as players. Any common touch points here over all these years of coaching?
Very few with Barry. It's odd because usually there's 6 degrees of separation somewhere along the line, but never played with him, never played under him, never coached with him on any team. One of his assistants, John Gruden, that they just brought on board a few years ago, was a player of mine I had in both Grand Rapids and shortly in Washington, but that's probably the most common denominator. So yeah, that one is a little odd that, usually you can end up, like I said, connecting some dots with coaches in the league that have been in here for a while. But with Barry and I, that again, it's just that didn't happen for whatever reason.
Have you liked his work over the years?
Yeah, he's done a great job. He went into Nashville to start. Obviously cut his teeth in the American League like a lot of guys do and should. Did a really good job there. I think it was Obviously before there was a salary cap, so he's probably a little bit more limited some of these other teams, but always had a very competitive, hardworking, structured team. He brought that over to Washington, helped them win a Stanley Cup, obviously, get over the hump. And now him and Lou, and I put Lou in that category in New York because I think they're very like-minded how they approach the game. Have sort of rebranded the Islanders with the way they play and made them, again, cup contenders where they had lost that I guess whatever you want to call it, label over the years. They had very, very successful teams in the 80s, obviously with Al Arbor, and they won 4 in a row. They lost it there for a while, and now they've brought that back. So credit to those guys, and obviously the players that play under them. They're the ones that make it happen. But a good vision over there to get them to play the way they want to and get it turned around in a hurry, where they're competing every year for the Stanley Cup. And
in your matchups this year, you had trouble early on getting inside ice against them. Reversed that as the year went along. Was that mostly because you think you're changing personnel as the year got along, or did you sort of figure it out?
I think it's, personnel driven to a certain extent. I think we added some people, got healthier towards the end of the year as opposed to the start. So all our numbers went up, not only against New York, but against everybody. Some of that was, again, Taylor Hall. Lazar comes in as a little more creative in the fourth line. Mike Riley's moving pucks a little cleaner than some of the other guys. So all of a sudden that translates into, some better attacks and really more rush offense than anything. But it wasn't just against New York, it was against everybody. So I think it breeds confidence in the group. So now all of a sudden, you've got a few more guys doing it and bringing it. It rubs off on the rest of the guys. So I think that's what happened with those numbers. Obviously, early in the year, we weren't where we needed to be, and we worked on it as we went along, tried to tweak some things. But at the end of the day, some of those guys obviously were drivers in that area and helped pull the group along.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll try Jimmy again.
Hey, Coach, you got me?
I got you, Jimmy. Do you got me?
I got you. Good to see you. Good to see you. I just wondering, with the way defensemen have been getting hurt lately, we see it all the time in the playoffs. How much do the playoffs kind of prove that old adage that you can never have enough defensemen? How much does that prove it true?
Well, I think in our case, every year it seems to come true for us. I think Tampa last year, I watched them in the second round against us. They had a couple injuries, and they had some veteran guys go in that they'd brought in that weren't always playing. I mean, Coburn had been there a while, but came in and helped. Shen they'd brought in, and Bogosian played very well against us. Some guys they brought in from other teams that had been around that were maybe not in the lineup every night in the regular season. All of a sudden they go in the playoffs and help them win games. So I think if you're going to have an extended run, it's going to happen. I think that's one position. If you're going to plug a guy in, ask him just to defend, keep it simple, chip pucks in, chip them out. You don't have to make a lot of high-end plays come playoff time. The ice gets bouncy. The games are lower scoring anyway. It doesn't have to be as pretty. So sometimes it's almost easier going in the playoffs in those scenarios, knowing that you're not asked or tasked to do anything more than just defend well, keep it out of your net, try to keep it moving north. Whereas in the regular season, you're looking for probably, listen, you have to execute in the playoffs. Don't get me wrong, Jimmy. But I guess what I'm saying is I've seen defensemen go in and know that, hey, I just got to play a couple good games here while the guy's getting repaired here or while he's out for a bit and help the team win. Whereas in the middle of the season, sometimes those depth guys go in. It's like, well, I got to do something really well tonight or special because I want to stay in the lineup because the other guy's coming back. So you have a bit of a different mindset as well for the guys in the back end to just go, hey, just go pull on the rope for a game or two or whatever's required. And so I think it's a mental thing too as well for them to go in and be able to handle it.